Good morning. Good morning, everybody. If you'll notice, yesterday's stream got yanked by YouTube because I played that video of that guy Speed or whatever the heck his name is at the WWE thing from this weekend. And I guess the WWE filed a complaint that I used their video without permission or authorization. So I just got that. I mean, I haven't had a chance to look into it. I mean, if that's all there is to it, I mean, if all I got to do is cut that out, I'll be more glad to put it back. But, I'll cut it out and then re-upload it if that's all that matters. I got no problem with that. I just thought that was kind of stupid. Some guy goes running up there and then try and play Billy Badass with these professional wrestlers. And yeah, he's a YouTube streamer. Yay! He wants to be the next Jake Paul or whatever, whoever that guy is that does that wrestles. Started off as a streamer and now he's a boxer who wanted to take on Mike Tyson. So I've got no dog in that hunt. I'm not worried about it. Before I get into the main thing I want to talk about, a couple small things here to bring up. Let's see here. Tom Homan was on Fox's business network, Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Baratiromo. Sorry. I'm sorry, Maria, about butchering your name. I apologize. Since Trump has come into office, illegal border crossings is down 93% from 2,000 a day down to 200 a day. That shows you that the Biden administration in Mayorkas could have at any time turned off the spigot. They could have at any time shut off the spigot for allowing illegals to come into the country. And they didn't. They didn't even really do it until just before election time. And all they did is reduce it down to 1,500 a day, 2,000 a day. That's all they did. So, yeah, there is no real attempt by the previous administration, and especially Mayorkas. I'd love to see that man arrested and put on trial for treason for allowing the invasion of our country by people unknown from countries unknown. I mean, we know we got a bunch in from China. We know we got a bunch in from Russia. We got a bunch in from all the African countries. We got a bunch in from Europe. And of course, South is Central and Mexico. South is Central America and Mexico. I mean, there wasn't a country in the world, I don't think, that didn't have people come in illegally through our borders. And yes, even the northern borders. Not as bad from the northern border. That's mostly because in order to cross from Canada illegally from another country, you had to first get to Canada. So that meant you had to buy a ticket, fly, and either go by boat or by aircraft. And neither one of those are particularly cheap. Then get from the point of entry in Canada, be accepted, get through their customs. And if you've ever watched, I believe it's called Danger TV. If you've ever watched that where they go talk about the Canadian immigration. Hey, morning, Josh. Yeah, I understand what you're saying there about more updates equal more problems. But how's your internet working since you've got this new stuff on there? Got your new equipment in and you're running the new service. But we were still having problems with at the northern border. Well, Trump, of course, he's put a few thousand American soldiers and guard and reserves at our southern border. And he just got Mexico to put 10,000 Mexican soldiers on their side of the border. Hey, morning, Ramen. And why did Mexico all of a sudden decide to put 10,000 of their soldiers on the Mexican border? Because they didn't want to have a tariff put on their products. They decided it was less of a burden on their economy to put 10,000 soldiers on their side of the border to prevent people from illegally leaving their country to illegally enter our country than what it would have cost them because of the tariffs. Hey, morning, Venezuela. Yeah, that ought to be next, Ramen. Hey, morning, Digi. That ought to be next. You're right. Ought to be now laying tariffs against South American countries about their people. Either you accept all your illegals back, or else we just tariff the hell out of your products. Or you don't like that, then how about this? Uh, we're going to kick your ambassadors and such out of the country. We'll close your embassy down. There's always that too. I've already, I've already had 3 cups of coffee this morning, so I decided to change it up and go with a little hot chocolate. But we need to convince these countries to stop messaging that to their people that they can illegally enter our country. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot that a lot of them do. There's been some weak evidence, I'm going to say, at this point, that some of the South American countries, I'm going to say very weak evidence, that some South American countries have been allowing their less law abiding individuals to leave their country rather than go to prison, or to get out of jail or prison early if they promise to leave their country. I'm not saying 100% that that's happened. I'm saying that there's some weak evidence and testimony that it has. I mean, it could all be debunked, but don't really know. Put the hot chocolate in my coffee. I've never put hot chocolate in my coffee. I may try that one day. 8 ounces of hot coffee, 8 ounces of hot chocolate. May have to try that one day just to see where that lies up at. But this makes me happy to see that the illegal immigration is down 93%. And that ought to be telling the American people that what we had been putting up with for the past 4 years could have been stopped at any given moment. It could have been dropped down to I'm not happy at even 200 a day crossing the border illegal, because that adds up. Now that's call it 1,500 a week. That's 6,000 a month. Okay, that's 72,000 a year. 72. Yeah. That's 72,000 people a year crossing our border illegally at 200 a day. So I'm not even happy at that. But that 72,000 is what we were getting a week under Biden. So it is a lot better. But we've still got a long way to go yet. Now, ideally, no one should be satisfied until it's down to 0 a day. We'll never see that, but that should be our goal. 0 illegal border crossings a day. But that would put a hell of a strain on our Coast Guard and our Navy. I mean, protecting the solid borders there along the Rio Grande, that's easy in comparison. Protecting all of our open shoreline, that's a lot more difficult. Oh no, I can't. I cannot do the marshmallows. I do not like marshmallows in my hot chocolate. I don't. No, that's just. I'll be honest. That's just disgusting. I would put pumpkin extract into my hot chocolate before I'd ever put a marshmallow in. So let's see here. There was one other one I wanted to bring up here. Where is it? Oh, yeah, Treasury Department. Now, we all heard how the Treasury Department had David Lebryk, Lebryk, Lebryk. He started his career in 1989. So that's, let's see here. Let's call it 90. So 10, 30, 34 years, 35 years now. He's worked for the U.S. Department of the Treasury. If he's worked that steady. Now, that should be enough. I mean, government agencies usually allow you to retire at 20 years and above. To my knowledge, I may be totally wrong. All right, Josh. My wife's got that, and she's got the Swiss Miss with the marshmallows. And that's the ones I can't stand, but she loves them. So I'll try that. In fact, I'll do it on Thursday. Okay. Rather than having coffee during the stream on Thursday, I'll do Swiss Miss with chocolate mixed into my coffee. 8 ounces of each. 8 ounces of coffee, 8 ounces of Swiss Miss with marshmallows. Just for you. Elon Musk and his Doge crew want to go to the Treasury Department. And this, David Lebryk, he was the head of the Treasury. And let's see here, come back. Let me. What in the heck was that? Okay, here we go. Whoops, wrong one. Trump administration pushed out. He didn't push out. He retired. He resigned on his own. They're calling it they're making it sound like you either let him in or you're fired. That's not what happened. From everything else that I read. A top Treasury Department official this week after refused to give Elon Musk's cost-cutting team access to the government's vast payment system. Part of a bid by this so-called, that is not so-called, it is the Department of Government Efficiency. See, this is how you can tell that New York, a biased newspaper article by the way that they slant their stories and the way they want you to and the way they describe different agencies or different people. David Lebrecht, a career civil servant who had oversaw more than $1 billion payments that the federal government makes every year, was placed on administrative leave after resisting requests from Mr. Musk's lieutenants, according to people familiar with the circumstances, and who spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe sensitive internal dynamics. On Friday, Mr. Lebrecht, who briefly served as the acting Treasury Secretary until the confirmation of Scott president this week, told colleagues that he would retire after more than 35 years working for the government. Lebrecht's abrupt departure raised questions about whether Mr. Musk will now gain control of the payment system, and if so, how could he use it? His exit also underscores the extraordinary amount of power that Mr. Musk, whose current employment status inside the federal government remains unclear, is accumulating at the opening of the second Trump administration. Well, actually, it's maybe at the time of this writing it was unclear, but it's not unclear now. Musk is a federal employee now. He is authorized office space. He's even authorized to be paid. We don't know if he's taking payments or not, most likely not. But, I mean, he's across the board a government employee. All right. And remember, Trump said that he wanted the ability to temporarily assign people security clearances even before the FBI had a chance to do their investigations. Because it takes the FBI months to get somebody security clearance. And Trump said he wasn't willing to wait months to give people some people clearances so they could get on to do their job. And I am going to assume that Musk is one of those that he wanted to get that clearance to. And Musk would have, honestly, a little bit more of a difficult time getting clearance than most people would, because he is a naturalized citizen. He did enter the country. I mean, he was in the country for a time period illegally because he overstayed his student visa. But then, he also had dealings with the government in the past with his SpaceX program and other programs. So I could see the FBI, if they wanted to be a royal pain in Trump's ass, really slow leaking the procedure for giving him his security clearance. Hey, morning, Paul. How you doing today? Swiss Miss and coffee, whipped cream with pumpkin pie spice, even better. I mean, now pumpkin pie spice is, I love my pumpkin pie spice, but I'm not a big fan of whipped cream, which is later on you'll be wondering what the heck. So anyway, my question is what was Lebrecht doing that he would rather resign and retire than let somebody come in and do basically an audit of the Treasury Department? That raises a couple of questions to me in my mind. All right. I mean, as a government employee, sometimes you do things, and even as a head of a department or acting head of a department, that President of the United States tells you to do something, your job is to follow his directions, even if you don't like them, unless you believe his directions are illegal or unconstitutional. So, I mean, you never have to follow an illegal order. And you can always tell the president that what he is telling you to do is unconstitutional. And that's the thing about following illegal orders, that's beat into you even in the military from day one. You do not follow illegal orders. And all that is from the Nuremberg, that's outgrowth of the Nuremberg trials, where lower ranking Nazi soldiers, they tried to use the excuse, I was just following orders. And they were told, that doesn't, you don't have to follow illegal orders. So, anyway. Treasury Department executes payments on behalf of agencies across the government, dispersing $5.4 trillion, or 88% of all federal payments in the last fiscal year. So, and I love the fact that the Treasury Department here is using, or not Treasury Department, but the New York Times is using the infamous anonymous source. In fact, the Times makes a careful decision anytime it uses an anonymous source. The information the source supplies must be newsworthy and give readers genuine insight. Yeah. In other words, it's newsworthy. The anonymous source is newsworthy if it advances our agenda. And if it advances our agenda, then we're going to use that anonymous source. If it doesn't, we don't. So, anyway, the Breck decided that he just wanted to resign rather than use that. Let Musk and his crew come in and do their job. Ain't a war crime the first time, fat electrician. That's true. Oh, you're only driving for work. Okay, Josh, you have a good one. Somebody else that listens to the fat electrician. Yep. I just found him for the first time about a year ago, and he's funny as all get out. All right, fat electrician. He's a prior military guy that has a lot of fun with military history, especially Navy history. I've run into him over on TikTok. I'm sure he's on Instagram and other places. But he has a lot of fun, and he's very humorous, and he makes listening or understanding what's happened with especially military history fun to learn. Okay, you found him. Good. Yeah, he's hilarious to watch. He really is. He's got a great sense of humor. Ramen. You now this. I found a recipe. Going. Remember, I told y'all I was bequeathed a whole stack of my mother's recipe cards. So I've been taking my time because her handwriting uh, and such sometimes can be a little atrocious to try to read. So I've been taking my time and entering her recipes into uh, the computer, and then I'm going to print them out and have copies of it bound and given out to existing family. And one of the recipes I found the other day was called a banana split cake, and it really sounded interesting. So uh, we went ahead and got everything I needed for it. And basically, it starts out with a graham cracker crust, followed by a Philly cream cheese, a flavored Philly cream cheese mixture. It's a no bake, so there's no egg in it. Um, then pineapple and bananas, whipped cream topped with maraschino cherries and chocolate. So I put that together last night. And I think the next time I make it, I'm going to add some more banana extract or some banana flavoring. I got the Nestle uh, banana milk flavoring. So powder, like their Nesquik chocolate. While in England, they've got a banana. So I'm thinking next time I make it, I'm going to add some of that to the Philly cream cheese and give the Philly cream cheese a bit more uh, banana flavoring. Besides the 2.5, I used a cramp rather than making my own crust and everything. I just bought a pie with a graham cracker crust, but it actually was quite good, Paul. It really is good. Uh, the wife and I ate a quarter of it last night, and I've almost eaten a quarter of it by myself today. But yeah, it's a banana split cheesecake is what it's if you look it up on the internet, you can actually find it on the internet, but as banana split cake, but I prefer the banana split cheesecake. Now the ones from in my mom's recipe versus the one that they've got online. There's some changes, some differences here and there, nothing major, mostly in flavoring and such. But yeah, it is good. I'll tell you, it is good. And it's topped with whipped cream. So then put your maraschino cherries on top of that. Then you drizzle either chocolate or hot fudge across it. And oh, yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. That was really good. Okay, now we're going to get into USAID. And one thing, you see it, and you see it says USAID, so you automatically think USAID. Well, it's the United States Agency for International Development. Now, it was formed, a little bit of history of it. It was formed by an executive order by John F. Kennedy. It was not created by Congress. Congress funds it. Make no doubt about that. Congress funds it. But it was created by an executive order. And in a more perfect country, shall we say, a more perfect thing, anything created by an executive order should be able to be disbanded by executive order. But as we learned with DACA and other things during the Trump's first administration, it doesn't quite work that way. The Democrats have managed to get precedent set that in order to undo some executive orders, you have to follow a very strict procedure, and you're going to end up in court one way or another. And this is one thing where I've got a problem with the Republican Party. The Republican Party did not fight the Democrats about and Joe Biden's executive orders in court and such the way the Democrats will fight any Republican, especially Trump. That was that's just, I've got a real bone to pick with them on that. Yes, I understand, the Republicans are not the Democrats, and they're not going to use the same playbook. They're going to try to play by a little higher standard. Well, the problem is, if you let one side cheat and you don't at least try to get the refs to come in and call them out for it, you're going to lose every time. No matter how clean you played the game, you're going to lose. And that's I wish it wasn't that way. But unfortunately, that's the way it has developed. Now, the Democrats were so worried about Trump using the courts to go after his enemies the way the Democrats use the courts to go after Trump. No, we can do it, you can't, was their attitude. But anyway, by no doubt of the mind, USAID was developed or created by an executive order. And if Trump wants to get rid of it, he's going to have to follow a very clear set of steps if he wants to dismantle it entirely. But he's taken some other steps which I find interesting. He's putting the USAID under Marco Rubio. he's attempting to do is that USAID right now is a standalone agency. It doesn't follow under any other agency, which I thought was kind of weird. You'd think that they would have been under the State Department umbrella, but they're not.
Now the head of USAID, the head of Doge, Elon Musk, called USAID a criminal organization and added that it is time for it to die. Do you agree with that?
They have basically evolved into an agency that believes that they're not even a U.S. government agency, that they are a global charity, that they take the taxpayer money and they spend it as a global charity, irrespective of whether it is in the national interest or not in the national interest. One of the most common complaints you will get.
Okay, now I'll back this up here so that it doesn't lose track here. But in an earlier interview, and I couldn't find it this morning, in an earlier interview, Rubio said that when he was a sitting senator, they would have the head of the USAID or other leaders within of that agency before them in hearings. They wouldn't answer questions. They would submit questions in writing and demand responses, and they'd never get responses. And now I'm assuming that this was under Democratic control of the Senate, because he also said he couldn't get the Senate to take any action against USAID for failing to respond to the written questions. I couldn't find that clip this morning, but it's out there. I remember him talking about it in the past couple of days. But anyway.
It's a global charity, irrespective of whether it is in the national interest or not in the national interest. One of the most common complaints you will get if you go to embassies around the world from State Department officials and ambassadors and the like is USAID is not only not cooperative, they undermine the work that we're doing in that country. They are supporting programs that upset the host government for whom we're trying to work with on a broader scale and so forth.
Again, this is coming from them feeling that they are their own little kingdom whose sole purpose is to spend taxpayers' money as they see fit, whether or not it is in alignment with what the rest of the government is doing. And of course, you understand, the government, the wants of the government changes with each administration. And all these agencies, from the State Department to the Department of Defense to even the Treasury Department, they all understand that when you have a new boss come in, a new president come in, a new administration come in, that while their underlying programs don't change, won't change, there will be changes, whether they like it or not. Much like under Biden, immigration, they really didn't have a job except, making sandwiches for the illegals and giving them giving them telephones and food stamps and setting them up with an apartment and giving them a court date 5 years down the road that you knew that they were never going to make. Well, Trump comes in, and that's no longer, that program is out. And immigration, their job is to go pick up the guys that they gave cell phones to the week before. And USAID, well, they refuse to be cooperative with the Senate.
So they're completely unresponsive. They just don't consider that they work for the U.S. They just think they're a global entity and that their master is the globe and not the United States. And that's not what the statute says, and that's not sustainable.
Can it be reformed, or does it need to die?
Well, that was always the goal, was to reform it. But now we have rank insubordination. Now we have basically an active effort where their basic attitude is, we don't work for anyone. We work for ourselves. No agency of government can tell us what to do. So the president made me the acting administrator. I've delegated that power to someone who's there full time, and we're going to go through the same process at USAID as we're going through now at the State Department. I think there are some, this is not about getting rid of foreign aid. There are things that we do through USAID that we should continue to do that makes sense. And we'll have to decide, is that better through the State Department, or is that better through something, a reformed USAID? That's the process we're working through. There are things that are happening at USAID that we should not be involved in funding, or that we have a lot of questions about, but they're completely uncooperative. So we had no choice but to take dramatic steps to bring this thing under control.
Do you think that we'll?
Now, I know I let him go there quite a bit without interrupting him. But think about what he just said there on this. These people were given a budget, and they just spent it as they saw fit. Not as they were directed to spend it or not spend it, but as they felt it needed to be spent. Now remember, this is our tax dollars that they were spending, our money. I mean, they didn't have a job that earned them cash. They weren't a private organization that thrived on donations. They were or are an organization that Congress allocates money to, and they refuse to even talk to Congress then about how much money, where that money was going. And that's never a good thing. Okay, I forgot to do this earlier. So let me get that up there so I can see chat. And close the volume so I don't hear myself. Every now and again I accidentally hear myself, and I wonder why you guys even listen to me.
Will still be the most generous nation on earth at the end of this process.
Okay, let me back this up here.
To take dramatic steps to bring this thing under control.
Do you think that we'll still be the most generous nation on earth at the end of this process?
Listen to what he's saying there, as if it's a good thing. And it would be bad if we weren't the most generous nation on earth. Remember, in order for the government to be generous with money, they have to take that money out of our pockets. Every time they are generous with our money to other countries, first they got to reach into your wallet and take that dollar out of there. They have to reach into our collective wallets, snag out the money, then use that to be generous with, to give to other countries. So I don't mind, if we're going to be generous to other countries, then we should be having very strict controls on where that money's going. I know I've had good friends, hey, Shroom, can you, I'm coming up short on rent money. Can I borrow some money from you for rent? Or, hey, I need some gas. I need some gas money. Well, if it's gas money, I just tell them, hey, come on over. I've got 5 gallons of gas in my garage. I'll just pour it into your vehicle. Well, I'd rather have the money. Well, if you say you need gas, I'm going to give you gas. But if you're saying you'd rather have money than the gas, but you're telling me it's for gas, that's telling me the money's not for gas, it's for something else. So if I give out my money to someone, if I give money out, I don't ever expect to see it back. I've got no expectations of ever seeing it back, whether the guy promised he was going to give me my money back or not. I mean, there's been times I've been surprised and had somebody give me back my money, pay me back. But more times than not, I never saw a dime. That's one of the reasons why I quit carrying money with me, because sometimes if you catch me just right, I'll give you everything I got in my wallet. Well, if I don't have it in my wallet, I can't give it to you. But do we want to be known as the most generous nation on earth? I don't know if that's a good title or if that's just another way of saying they're the biggest suckers on earth.
I think we'll be the most generous nation on earth, but we think we're going to be the most generous nation on earth in a way that makes sense, that's in our national interest.
Are you concerned during this aid pause that China could come in and fill the vacuum with their influence operations?
No. I mean, first of all, they don't do that now. If they did, they'd be out there competing with us in these places. But my point is this, even if they did that, why would we fund things that are against our national interest or don't further our national interest, whether China's there or not?
Do these
That's $1 million question. Why, if we're giving out money to a country and we're not putting restrictions onto where that money needs to be spent, because after all, it is our money, and they're using that money unwisely, or they're using it to actively work against us, that's like handing the guy that's coming in to beat you up a set of brass knuckles so he can hit you harder and faster. Why? If it came down to being known as the most generous person on earth, or the person that I can go to get money that I'm going to use to hurt them with, that they're going to use to hurt me with, I'd rather not be known as a generous person.
tariffs, especially those against Canada, fundamentally change the relationship that the United States?
All right, that's the end of the deal with USAID on this one. Here's another interview with Rubio.
Are you currently in charge of USAID? I'm the acting director of USAID. I've delegated that authority to someone, but I stay in touch with him. And again, our goal was to go in and align our foreign aid to the national interest. But if you go to mission after mission and embassy after embassy around the world, you will often find that in many cases, USAID is involved in programs that run counter to what we're trying to do in our national strategy with that country or with that region. That cannot continue. USAID is not an independent, non-governmental entity. It is an entity that spends taxpayer dollars, and it needs to spend it, as the statute says, in alignment with the policy directives that they get from the Secretary of State, the National Security Council, and the President. And it's been 20 or 30 years where people have tried to reform it, and it refuses to reform. It refuses to cooperate. When we were in Congress, we couldn't even get answers to basic questions about programs. That will not continue. That's not going to continue.
So, yep, I mean, there was a short version of what I was talking about earlier. There was a more lengthy interview he gave where he talked about having USAID in front of them during congressional hearings. And they were basically, we'll have to get back with you on that, Senator, or we'll have to answer that in writing, or we can't do that in an open forum. You know, all the buzzwords that they use to not respond and answer the questions. All the little buzz phrases that they've got built up. Now, here's an AP story. Elon Musk says the President Donald Trump has agreed USAID should be shut down. Now, without going any further, just off of this headline, this would be my gut reaction. USAID needs to be needs to have everything paused. Not another dollar going out until each individual program that they are funding is approved, and not blanket approvals. Okay, you're going to send $1,000. You're going to send $10,000 here to do this. All right, what protections are in place to ensure that's how that money is being spent? Okay, you're sending 8,000 pounds of food to this area. All right, what protections are you going to have are going to be in place to make certain that the people are getting the food and not somebody sitting in the government? That the food is actually reaching the people who who are starving. Not some fat cat sitting in an office somewhere. That's what I'm saying, where each individual project needs to be approved. And there'll be some projects that won't be approved. USAID is on the cusp of being shuttered, according to the Trump according to the Trump administration's billionaire advisor and Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who's been wrestling for control of the agency in recent days. Early Monday, Musk held a live session on X Spaces, previously known as Twitter Spaces, and said he spoke in detail about USAID with the president, and he agreed we should shut it down. It became apparent that it's not an apple with a worm in it. What we have is just a ball of worms. You got to basically get rid of the whole thing. It's beyond repair. We're shutting it down. Musk, being a businessman, I mean, let's remember what he did when he went into Twitter. Okay, he said one of the places, server farm. He said he needed to have it shut down because it was a waste of money. And the guy running the server farm said, well, that'll take us a couple of months to shut this down. Musk borrowed a pocket knife from someone that was with him. And whether intentional or not, he shut that server farm down in just a few minutes. Whether he did it or not, don't know. Whether he did it on purpose or not, I don't know. But then he walked into Twitter itself and he fired people left and right. Because they were overstaffed. They had time to go and sit on the rooftop for cocktails or go into a napping room and take a nap during the day. Or go and have a gourmet lunch for free there. Well, he walked in and said, if we've got so many people that y'all got time to take naps and go eat gourmet lunches and everything else on company time, we got too many people. Oh. Yeah, they would drink while on the job. Yep. If you're in Florida, Paul, DeSantis just announced. In fact, where can I think I've got that story here somewhere. Do I remember to pull that up or not? DeSantis just announced, nope, it's not there, that there is a tax-free week on Freedom Seeds, Pew Pews, and Pew Pew accessories coming up. So your Freedom Seed dispenser would follow underneath that category, and there's going to be a tax-free week. And if I had the money, I really want a internal laser sight for my EDC. I really want one, but the ones I've seen, I can't. They just want too stupid much for them. So I'd like to get another Freedom Seed dispenser too. That would be nice. That would really be nice. Get another Freedom Seed. I still have to go with 90 with the 9 guy. I'd have to get another 9er because thanks to the nerve damage in my hands, anything larger than a 9 has a tendency to I have a tendency to have issues with it. But anyway, where were we? Here we go. His comments came as the administration placed 2 top security chiefs on leave when they refused to turn over classified material. They did, but then on Saturday, Doge did manage to get inside to take care of business. And I think that was that security issue we talked about at the beginning, where Trump said he wanted the ability to issue security clearances to individuals while they waited on the FBI to conduct their background investigations. Oh, I am so sorry, Paul. I'm so sorry you live in Michigan. Okay, now here's one of my favorite lines about this. Trump said it here. It's been run by a bunch of radical lunatics, and we're getting them out, Trump said to reporters about USAID on Sunday night. The Trump administration and the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has imposed an unprecedented freeze on foreign assistance that has shut down much of USAID's humanitarian development and security programs worldwide, compelling thousands of layoffs by aid organizations and ordered furloughs and leaves that have gutted the agency's leadership and staff in Washington. The U.S. is by far the world's largest donor of humanitarian aid, administering billions of dollars in humanitarian development and security assistance in more than 100 countries. So, and of course, Elizabeth Warren said in the Post that Trump was Elon Musk to access people's personal information and shut down government funding. Now, Elon, Musk is, or not Musk, but Warren, good old Pocahontas there. Let's see, which article was this? Okay, here we go. So jumping over to another article. All right, and with some, the Senate Democrats have said in a statement to Marco Rubio that they're concerned about Musk-headed Doge reps possibly having unauthorized access, as you said, and subsequent placing on leave, the administrative leave from the agency responsible for administering the civilian foreign aid and development, compromising our national security. They wrote that they received reports that individuals who identified themselves as working for Doge accessing classified information during the visit, and it's unclear whether or not they had proper security clearance. Now, the Democrats are kind of pissed off that nobody notified them that Musk and that Doge people were going to go to USAID. Why should the Democrats be notified that the executive branch of the government were sending executive branch employees to an executive branch ran organization? The only thing Congress has to do with this organization is they fund it. That's it. That they oversee it because of the funding. That they're allowed to ask questions about where the money's spent and such. But this is an executive branch organization. So if the executive branch is sending in inspectors to look at one of its agencies Do the Democrats really need to know about it? Or do we have to ask their permission or notify them beforehand? So that's okay. Let's see here. This article, what did I have picked out in this article here? Okay, I already discussed this article. Uh, Basically, what this article is saying that Musk received special government employee designation, which allows him to work for the federal government for 130 days over a year without having to publicly disclose his finance. Former President Joe Biden utilized the same authority to hire a top aide during his administration. 130 days is a lot of time. It really isn't. That's only 4 months. So that's why Musk is going through all these agencies like crap through a goose. Now, I may wonder why, what some of the issues are about, how USAID has been spending money, the questions about it. This is Miss Levitt, the White House spokeslady.
Agency. And here's the reason why Elon Musk and others have been taking a look. Because if you look at the waste and abuse that has run through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces.
Okay, I'm going to stop here at each one. Why is Serbia? Now, Serbia is hardly a first world nation. I mean, it's not a stink hole of a nation, but it's not exactly what I would call a first world nation. They've got more important issues on their plate than worrying about DEI. Yet USAID spent $1.5 million on getting DEI set up in Serbia, or trying to get DEI set up in Serbia. We're getting rid of DEI here in the United States. But the USAID spent money on getting it there. Talk about exporting your poison.
$70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland.
$70,000 for a DEI musical. I wonder if that would be anything like that musical on transgenders that was just in the news here this past week, with that song about penis to vagina and vagina to penis. Ugh. I wish I'd never seen that clip on television. Still giving me nightmares. And, you're going thinking here, oh, it's only $70,000 out of the billions that they spend. $70,000. What would that fund for homeless people here in the United States? How many people could that 70,000 have helped here in the United States? How many people could that have fed? For how long? How many meals could that have provided? No, Paul, I haven't looked at the Easy series. So yeah, you sit there and say, well, it's only 70,000. That's not that much with what the government spends. 70,000 would pay off my mortgage. The government wanted to spend $70,000 to help somebody, send me 70 grand to pay off my mortgage. Or better yet, use that 70 grand to feed a bunch of homeless. Okay, Digi, you have a good day at work now, all right? Thanks for stopping by. I do appreciate you.
47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia.
47 grand for a transgender opera in Colombia. Do you really think the Colombian people are so well off? We're sending aid to Colombia, right? That's what, USAID, Agency for International Development. Do we really think that the best development for Colombia is an opera about transgenderism? And knowing this group endorsing transgenderism. Do we really think that's that important for them?
32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru.
Oh, I don't want to know what that comic book was like. 32 grand.
I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap. And I know the American people don't either. And that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government.
Now, I can't imagine anyone. I want to hear somebody trying to defend that expenditure of money and how that is helping those countries in the areas where they most need it. I mean, if Serbia is so well off that the only help they need is DEI, then they don't need our money. If Colombia is so well off, all they need is a transgender opera, then they don't need our money. They can develop their own transgender opera. If Peru is so well off, there are people in such great shape that all they need is a comic book on transgenders, then they don't need our help. If we're going to be spending money in these countries, DEI and transgender issues should be the very last things we spend any money on. Paul, there have been people who have made that accusation that the Democrats have been using this agency as a money laundering agency. And I honestly, I would not be surprised at anything that pops up if we ever get a complete. Man, I just had the word in my mind. A complete fiscal audit, a complete audit of where they've spent their money. Somebody help me out. Where they do, what's it called when they do a really in-depth audit on an organization? So I just had the word in my mind and now I can't think of it. Forensic audit. There we go. Forensic audit. That's what I was trying to think of. Now, Ilhan Omar, she had her own statement to say about this. Oh, thank you, Paul.
It is really, really a sad day in America.
Remember, this is the same woman that came to the country and then married her brother to get her brother here.
We are witnessing a constitutional crisis. We talked about Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one, and here we are. This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like. When you gut the Constitution and you install yourself as the sole power, that is how dictators are made. What Trump and Elon and all of their cronies are trying to do is take away the constitutional power of Congress. We get to decide. We have the power of the purse. We get to decide where money is allocated, and it's the executive's power to make sure that that money gets to where it needs to get.
There you go. You allocate the money. The executive office does not have to spend it. You give them the money to spend, and then the executive branch can change their mind and not spend it. They may not spend it on other issues. So, too bad, so sad there, young lady. But you don't get your way on this one. You're only partially right there. You're only partially right.
When we talk about civil servants being let go, what we are talking about is not saving money. It's essentially saying,
What do you mean you're not saving money? If these civil servants are refusing to do their job, and they're given the option, do your job or find a new job. What was that email they sent out to the people that are working from home? There's a mass email that said, if you come back to work or type in resign. And if you type in resign, then we'll accept that as your letter of resignation. They were going to get, I think it was 8 months pay. Then they're going to be let loose. But if you're not paying, if your payroll reduces, you're saving money.
They can get paid while they're home, and their work doesn't get done on behalf of the American people. It is us, taxpayers, who are being ripped off. It is us, taxpayers, who are not getting the resources that we paid into.
You tell me what resources you're getting from ASID unless they were sending you a personal check every month. USAID wasn't sending you any money. USAID, by the looks of it, was wasting a lot of money.
So I ask the American people, do you want people at home and getting a paycheck and not providing services to you? The answer is no. Do you want?
And that is why Trump said that people needed to come back to work in the office, because people were at home and not providing the services that they were supposed to be providing. So he said, come back to the office. Thank you for agreeing with us.
The executive making the only decisions in this country, or do you want the elected representatives that you sent to Washington making those policies?
You've got your job in the Congress as outlined in the Constitution. The executive office has got their job as outlined in the Constitution. Now, see, Congress, and I've said this for many years, Congress has given much of their power to the executive office by creating alphabet agencies and then putting them under the executive branch. The infamous Chevron ruling. No. You don't make the rules for inside these agencies. These agencies don't come to you and say, hey, these are the rules we'd like to see. Would you like to vote on them and please get them made into a bill to vote on and then send them up to the president for his signature or veto? No. You let these agencies, you gave the agencies the authority to write their own rules that have the effect of law. Like the ATF, after 10 years, all of a sudden, 10 years, pistol grips, forearm grips were perfectly legal because they were designed to help combat injured vets to continue to shoot. Then after 10 years, all of a sudden, now we need to make these things not only illegal, but a felony if you own one. That didn't go through Congress. Some jerk at the ATF just got a wild hair up his butt one day and said, I'm going to make these illegal. So don't talk to, this is Congress's own fault that this happens the way it is, because that's the way Congress designed things so they can spend more time out politicking and less time doing their job. Because that's a lot of work for the government, for Congress, if they had to vote on all these rules and regulations these individual agencies come up with. And right now, the ATF, FDA, and the IRS are the three big ones that I can think of. But the EPA is another one. So don't go, Ilhan, you're talking to people who are too dumb to know better, so they're agreeing with you.
irrationally upset about USAID. I lived in a refugee camp for 4 years as a child surviving civil war. It is the essential programs that USAID provided that kept my family and I fed and safe.
And look at what happens here since you've come here. I'll find the video of a Somali president or some muckety muck from Somalia came here to your ward, to your district, bragging about how everything you do is for Somalia. Everything you do is for Somalia, not for the USA. You couldn't care less about the USA. That helping Somalia and Somalian people was the only thing you were concerned about. I'll find that video and I'll put it up here. But Ilhan Omar, you need to be denaturalized and sent back to Somalia. You really and truly do.
It is the resources that so many people around the world rely on. And it is our soft.
Yeah, the people around the world rely on plays and operas and comic books about transgenderism. Yes, sir, that really is putting food in the bellies and roofs over the heads of people in countries that need help. Plays, operas, and comic books about transgenderism. That's what they really need. Or how to put DEI in the workplace. That's what these countries need.
Power. Oftentimes, people interact with our country through the military. That does not create love for us, and it certainly does not keep us safe.
What do you mean then keep us safe? If it wasn't for the military, there wouldn't be this country. Our military keeps us safe. And not only keeps us safe, but whose country was it that their Navy kicked ass on a bunch of pirates? Was it the Somalian Navy? No. Was it the British Navy? No, I don't think it was the British Navy either. No, I don't think so. It was the U.S. Navy that kicked ass on a bunch of pirates, and we haven't heard a bunch of problems from them again. I tell you, if you don't like our military, if these countries don't like our military, how about this there, Ms. Omar? Have them tell us face to face they don't want our military. They don't want us to help them with our military. And we won't. And when there's border skirmishes or anything else there, we'll ensure that no Americans or American money is used to help them.
When the world
She just irritates the hell out of me. Oh, let's see here. I'll come back to his video. Okay. And speaking, going back to the State Department, because all this money going overseas, the State Department sends money over, USAID sends money over. The military, the U.S. military spends a lot of money on helping out other countries. We spend a lot of money going overseas to other countries through several different agencies.
Authorize purging of State Department personnel? What does that mean exactly?
Well, if you want to take a look at the State Department, where DEI has been a priority over, let's say, diplomacy in many accounts, I can give you hundreds of examples
What
of where they
proof
were
do you have of
authorizing.
that?
Sure, let's list them off. $500,000 to expand atheism in Nepal.
State Department, $500 million to expand atheism. Really? We spent $500 million endorsing atheism in Nepal. Whose bright idea was that? Through the State Department. Anthony Blinken, if I remember correctly, was the last person in charge of the State Department. $500 million for atheism.
$50,000 to do, let's see, a transgender opera in Colombia, $47,000 to do an LGBTQ trans comic book in Peru, $20,000 a pop to do drag shows in Ecuador.
20 grand for drag shows in Ecuador. Yes, sir. Ecuador is such a fantastic country with no problems whatsoever. The only assistance they needed was a drag show. And we got off only spending $20,000 to produce that drag show for them. Yes, sir, Bob. That drag show sure did do a lot for the people that need it. That was all they need in Ecuador is drag shows.
Ecuador, shall I continue with more examples of where DEI
It
was the
certainly
priority?
seems like there could be a review of things. Foreign aid, as you know, is less than 1% of the entire federal budget.
I don't care if it's 0.01% of the federal budget. That is tax dollars that came out of American citizens' pockets. Every dollar that is spent by the government at any level Oh, hey, you're right, Raman. I forgot about that. Yeah, Tim Curry did do a good job as a drag queen, didn't he? But you see, this is the way the media, well, it's only 1% of the federal budget. I tell you, when the wife and I are sitting down doing our budgeting at the end of the month, right? And we look at the money we've each spent. And there's a couple $100 that we can't account for. And then, well, that's right, I stopped at Sonic. My wife loves Sonic. I stopped at Sonic for lunch a couple of days. Okay, so there accounts for about $25. No, $12, $10, $12, whatever. And then I did this, and then I did that, and then then there's me with, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot I bought. I've got it sitting here in front of me. I spent $30 on a cooking contraption that I'm going to use, see if I can use it. And if I can, and it works well, I'm going to give it to my daughter-in-law to use. I'm going to test it out, make certain that it works the way that it's been advertised to work. I spent, I think, $30, $35 on it. All right. I just spent $30 on, had to buy some new scrub daddies. You know, all this little stuff, $5, $10 here, there. At the end of the month, that adds up to a couple $100 being spent. It adds up in a hurry. So don't talk to me, well, that was only $30,000. That was only $70,000. That was only, you know, $50,000 out of the government budget. It all adds up, and every penny of that came out of our pockets. When I say our, I mean us, the American people, our tax money.
So we're talking small amounts of money by comparison.
Small amounts of money. This is not how the elite think. There used to be, you know, what was it? Keep an eye on the pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. If you watch where you spend every penny, then you're going to save up your dollars.
We're still
But
talking about tens and tens of billions of dollars. And if you want to go to somebody else on the other side of the aisle, Samantha Powers, she had a worthy goal, although it was a stupid goal. She said she was hoping to get the amount of foreign aid, USAID dollars that go to actual aid up to 30 cents on the dollar from 10 cents on the dollar. That's a major problem that we have this agency that's all that goes abroad.
I think
when
you're
it's the
talking
American workers' dollar.
Oh, this one here. Yeah, I purposely saved this one for last. Okay. This is a woman that worked at USAID. Oh, the video's gone. That's all right. You can just listen. We can listen to her. You can see what she looks like there. But this is what she's actually saying.
People get fired, and I thought it was just them, and it turned out it was 60 senior people for USAID, and like I watched it happen, and that was just absolutely heartbreaking. People who've given decades of their work to this kind of this work. I mean, they've given their lives, and then it kind of went really downhill. And Doge was in the building. We took down our pride flags.
Did you hear that? Doge came in the building, so they ran around taking pride flags down. So they ran around taking down pride flags. Now, a couple weeks ago, about a week and a half ago, one of the things Trump did very early, January 24th, no pride flags at U.S. embassies, government buildings. He made it clear on the 25th of January that pride flags and crap are supposed to come down from government buildings. No pride flags allowed. No BLM flags allowed. But they go in this Doge building. Doge goes into the USAID building after the 25th. And their people go running around taking down their pride flags. They couldn't follow a simple directive as to remove the pride flags from the buildings. What other directives are they not following? So, it's like my dad when I was growing up. He would tell me several things to do or not to do. And I didn't do one or two of them. Decided not to do them. Or decided to do something he told me not to do. He'd go around to see what else. As soon as he caught me being wrong on one item, he'd go around checking to see what else I did wrong that day or that week. Because he knew it wouldn't be just one thing. There'd be other things that I disobeyed him on. And he would find a couple of them usually. And he'd melt out his punishment. Usually grounding, taking away the car keys, taking away my driver's license, a whooping. That belt across the butt. Whatever it may be. And that would, so these people are already, they already know that they're doing stuff wrong because they're running around hiding their pride flags. What kind of books could you have in your office that would be incriminating? What do you have in your office that would be incriminating that could get you in trouble? Are you a communist? Are you a supporter of Hamas? Is that what you have in your office? What kind of questionable material could you have in your office, books, that you'd have to hide from a representative of the Trump administration? See, this is the attitude that a lot of these government workers have. And that's what's so damn bad about our government. There's too many people like this. And she's admitting that she had this stuff in her office now.
Down the signs, and then Saturday all of the websites went down, and then no one was talking. We heard they started taking transcripts automatically of all of our Google Meets. They unplugged the news in the little kitchen galleys. It didn't feel good. And then Friday we heard that Doge was here taking down the signs, and then Saturday all of the websites went down. and then I lost complete access to my computer. My biggest fear is what I think most people who works here, biggest fear is that millions of people are going to stop, getting the aid that we provide with less than 1% of the American, federal budget. It's unconscionable to think that people are dying because our work has stopped, even in the past 12 days.
People are dying because you're not funding transgender comic books, operas, plays, or trying to get DEI in Serbia when you're spending money on things for transgender. That's not a good, that doesn't cause people to die.
And it will continue to happen. There are people that will go without food. There are people that will go without disaster, recovery assistance. There are farmers who won't get fertilizer for their fields. There are people who will not have lights for their buildings. There are people who won't get vaccinations for basic needs. There are people who won't get HIV care, in the places we do PEPFAR. And thinking in my heart about all the people around the world who, with so little, relative little investment, have so many positive outcomes.
Are we the only country in the world supporting all these other countries? What's Canada doing? The UK, the EU. What are they doing to support if without American dollars? And these people are going to die without American dollars. Is that telling me that Canada is doing nothing? UK is doing nothing? The EU is doing nothing? That America is the only one out there funding all this crap? That's the question I've got here. If the United States is the only country, if these people are going to drop dead because they're not, the United States isn't getting whatever out there. Why? That's telling me that all these that every other country in the world is doing nothing besides sending their people here to illegally cross our borders, which are not doing that anymore. We should not be the only country spending this money and supporting all these people. That should not be us doing that. Here's Ben Rhodes. What is happening to USAID will cost untold lives around the world, devastate America's standing, and massively empower China and other countries. There's no excusing it. It's a shameful, stupid cell phone without excuse and a harbinger of even worse to come. Ben, you tell me how $30,000 towards a transgender comic book is going to cost untold lives. You tell me how $70,000 for a transgender play is going to cost untold lives. $30,000 for a transgender opera. It's going to cost lives. You tell me. You tell me how that money is going to cost untold lives. What other nonsense is the USAID funding, and they refuse to release to Congress until Doge got in there and got looking? There needs to be a forensic audit of every dime spent at the State Department and at USAID. And with them rolling USAID into the State Department, that could be a good thing. At least then there's a possibility with the Secretary of State having to be confirmed through the Senate that the Congress could get answers to questions being asked about how the money is actually being spent. I already went over this about, Trump cannot just dissolve USAID. Because even though it was created by an executive order under JFK, one has been in existence since JFK. Two, the Democrats would take him to court if he doesn't take a series of steps to dissolve it correctly. They're already going to take him to court for attempting to put it under the State Department. They'll already do that. So this is going to end up in court one way or another before the Supreme Court. So hopefully Trump and Musk and JD and the other smart people up there have done the correct things, taken the correct steps and everything in order to get it done correctly. And I'm not going to worry about that. Oh, the last thing I'm going to cover here. Tomorrow, national 50 states anti-Trump protest plan for February 5th. I did not know about this until this morning. The 50-51 movement, or 50 states, 50 protests, one day, is garnering support throughout social media over his plan to stage demonstrations across the nation to, quote unquote, fight fascism on February 5th. The protests are against President Donald Trump and his actions during his first 2 weeks back in the White House. He has issued a flurry of executive orders fulfilling campaign promises, such as clamping down on illegal immigration, pardoning people who took fifth in January 6th. Former Chief of Staff Chairman Mark Milley has called Trump a fascist to the core, while former Trump Chief of Staff said the president certainly falls into the general definition of a fascist. That, of course, got the lady Make America Great Again, impeach Trump. I got news for you. Impeaching Trump has nothing, means nothing to us. Y'all impeached him 3 times. And right now, you're not going to get an impeachment on him as long as the Republicans have control of the House and Senate. You're not even going to get a vote. The movement has a website at 5051.carrd.co and is active on Instagram, Reddit, Blue Sky, Discord, and Signal. Well, I'm not surprised at all that it's on 3 out of the 4, or 4 out of the 5 there. I didn't even know Signal was still around. The group is calling for protests at each state capital. The information and start times vary by location. Yeah. Noon, 3, 2, 11 a.m., noon, 4 p.m. in Kansas. Wow. They want to sleep in late. Noon, 4 p.m. in Nebraska, another state that wants to sleep in late or get their chores done first. Noon, New York. Oh, at the Capitol building at noon and New York City Hall at 2 p.m. So you're going to have to hustle to get between the two of them, between Rochester. Is it Rochester? And New York City. You're going to have to haul ass there. Let's see, noon. Oh, Ohio at noon and Willard Park at 4. Okay. I'll have to get with Mr. Jack and see if he's going to attend that or not. Let's see, noon, Pennsylvania at the Capitol at 11. William S. Moorhead Federal Building in Pittsburgh at 11. And Philadelphia City Hall at noon. Ooh. So they're going to expect people to get from the state capitol and Pittsburgh in time to get to the Philadelphia at noon. Okay, those will be short protests there. South Dakota at the courthouse at 3. Tennessee at the state capitol at 1:30. Got to be different. Can't be at a regular time. You in Washington, you got to pick these oddball times, 1:30 and 2:30. Oh, in Virginia at 12:30. So there's there's 4 states there with the oddball times. Oh, yes. So tomorrow, if you're planning on going to your state capital or any of these other places, be careful. None of us know for certain what these oddball leftists are planning on doing. Why is it that Paul, all of a sudden I quit seeing everybody? I hope nobody said anything to me from after Raman talked about undead in the chats, because I'm not seeing. That's weird. I'm missing half of. I'm missing the last 2. Okay, now everything's updated. I hope it. I'm missing chats between the 2 screens. Okay. But anyways, that's all I've got for today, guys. I trimmed it down a little bit because I got going a little bit over. But anyhow, unless something serious happens today, I will be back on Thursday, because I've got to work tonight, and I'll be half dozing, if the animals allow me to, tomorrow morning by 9 o'clock. So everybody have a good one. Enjoy yourselves. Try to stay out of trouble. If you can't stay out of trouble, have as much fun getting out of it as you did getting in it. And of course, be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with. And have a good day.